Lexie said on the radio about Caitlyn and Sophie making a decision on this last play. Guys, what? This is the damnedest shiznit I have ever seen.
Picture this, 4.3 seconds on the clock. Your team is down by 1. You have the most electrifying shooter women's basketball has ever produced standing on your sideline waiting for you to draw up a play. She's already hit a sidestep 3, a step back 3, and a 4-point play in this very game. The entire arena knows where the ball should go. The millions watching at home know where the ball should go. Her teammates know where the ball should go. And you draw up a play to bait a foul. Not to score. Not to get your franchise player a clean look at the basket. To trick a referee into blowing a whistle. That is the story that detonated across the basketball world after the Indiana Fever's Monday night Commissioner's Cup game against the Washington Mystics. A story that turned a miraculous buzzer beater into the most controversial game winner of the entire WNBA season. What should have been a night of pure celebration became an uncomfortable referendum on coaching philosophy, locker room chemistry, and the fundamental question of whether the most popular team in women's basketball
Be pissed if this last shot is not taken by Caitlyn. It was set up for Kelsey Mitchell, so obviously. When she was coming around the edge on that little curl, and Sophie said, nah, I'm going full outlaw.
Basketball even knows how to use its most valuable asset. Let me walk you through everything that happened, everything that was said afterward, and everything it means going forward. Because this one night in Washington tells you more about the state of the Indiana Fever than an entire month of box scores ever could. The Fever traveled to Washington for a Commissioner's Cup matchup that, on paper, should have been routine. Indiana came out sharp, aggressive, and locked in. They built a commanding 17-point lead, the kind of cushion that usually lets you coast into the final minutes with the starters on the bench sipping water. But this is the Fever's...
I cannot imagine you... Quote from Lexie Hull. We were trying to draw a foul there. What? Say what? We were trying to draw...
Season in miniature. Promising starts followed by inexplicable collapses. Washington clawed back. Possession by possession, the Mystics chipped away at that lead until it didn't just shrink, it vanished entirely. By the time the fourth quarter wound down, Indiana found itself staring at a 76-75 deficit with just seconds remaining. To make matters worse, Caitlyn Clark, the woman the entire offense is theoretically built around, had just stepped to the free throw line with a chance to put her team ahead and missed both attempts. In a game defined by momentum swings, that felt like the final blow. But Indiana still had a timeout. They still had 4.3 seconds, and they still had Caitlyn Clark. The Fever huddled up. Coach Stephanie White drew up the play. The team broke the huddle and...
Caitlyn's a great basketball player. She made a read. Sophie was able to deliver a perfect pass. She knocked it down when it mattered. I can't say that's exactly what we drew up, but it worked. So we'll take it any day of the week. Oh, they went full on outlaw.
Lined up for the inbound. Sophie Cunningham took the ball under the basket, ready to deliver it. And then something remarkable happened, remarkable not because of what was designed, but because of what wasn't. Washington's head coach, Eric Thibault, made a gamble. He sent a defender to jump the passing lane, trying to intercept the inbound and seal the game. The gamble failed spectacularly. The defender missed the ball completely, and suddenly Caitlyn Clark was standing alone, wide open, 31 feet from the basket, directly in front of the half-court logo. 1.2 seconds remained on the clock. Clark caught the pass from Cunningham, set her feet with the calm of someone shooting around in an empty gym, and launched. Nothing but net. 78-76 Indiana. The first go-ahead game winner of Caitlyn Clark's professional career. A shot from 31...
Get a body language police situation.
How much
All right, let me blow this up. Look at Kelsey's face. Is she happy right now? Question mark. Is she happy?
How much confidence did you have in her hitting that one?
Is she happy? Inquiring minds want to know. Are you happy for the result that you did not...
Feat that should have had teammates rushing the court and a coaching staff chest bumping in triumph. A shot for the highlight reels, the history books, and the kind of moment that bonds a team together for the rest of a season. Instead, it blew the team apart. In the immediate aftermath, the celebration felt strangely muted. There was no dog pile at midcourt, no mob of teammates sprinting toward Clark. The energy between Clark and head coach Stephanie White was described by multiple observers as flat, disturbingly so for a team that had just pulled off the most dramatic win of its season. But the real earthquake didn't come from body language. It came from a microphone. Lexie Hull, Clark's teammate, went on the radio for a post-game interview. And in a moment of unfiltered honesty, she said the quiet part out loud. "We were trying to draw a foul there." That was it. 7 words.
Knowing that the intention was to foul bait on that final play is indefensible. It is some of the most weak cur dog shit I've ever heard in my life. That has to be Stephanie White's bright idea. I refuse to believe Austin Kelly is that dumb. I'm still processing that. The idea of designing a play to try to draw a foul.
7 words that landed like a grenade in every basketball group chat, every social media timeline, and every sports talk show in the country. A veteran WNBA analyst who heard the quote live could barely form a sentence in response. His genuine shock was palpable, and it was not performative. He had spent decades analyzing this sport, and even he could not process what he had just heard a player openly admit. The designed play, according to Hull and later confirmed by multiple reports, had Clark starting on the baseline as a decoy. She was supposed to set a screen for Hull, with the primary option being a look for Kelsey Mitchell coming off a curl. Clark, the woman who had just scorched Washington from every angle imaginable, was at best the third option. And the overarching intention wasn't even to get Mitchell a clean shot. It was to manufacture contact and send someone to the free throw line. In a 1-point game, with 4 seconds left, with Caitlyn Clark on the floor, let that sit for a moment. So how did the shot actually happen? Sophie Cunningham went off script. When the play broke down, or more accurately, when Cunningham decided the play wasn't good enough, she made a split-second decision to find Clark instead. She delivered a perfect pass to the logo. Clark read the defense, recognized the blown coverage from Washington's aggressive gamble, and did what she does better than anyone alive. She shot it, and she made it. Cunningham essentially confirmed the improvisation on Instagram afterward, posting a meme that read something to the effect of not following the plan but winning anyway. Clark's response was short, affectionate, and deeply telling. "Love you, Soph." 2 of the most popular and marketable players in the entire sport were publicly celebrating the fact that they had ignored their coach's call. Think about what that communicates, not subtly, not between the lines, but right out in the open for millions of followers to see. When your stars are memeing about going rogue, and the game winner only happened because someone abandoned the playbook, you do not have a team that trusts its coaching staff in crunch time. You have a team that trusts each other in spite of it. This didn't happen in a vacuum. The tension between Clark and the Fever's coaching staff has been simmering all season, and this incident simply turned the heat up to a level that could no longer be ignored. Weeks before the Washington game, cameras caught a heated exchange between Clark and Stephanie White during a timeout, the kind of intense finger-pointing interaction that usually gets buried in game footage but went viral because of the names involved. In the aftermath, the team reportedly held a 2-hour players-only meeting to address defensive effort and role clarity. 2 hours. That's not a casual check-in. That's an intervention. Then there was the post-game footage from the Mystics game itself. Multiple reports described locker room video showing Clark visibly rolling her eyes while White addressed the team. Measured words in a press conference and an eye roll caught on camera do not tell the same story. One is diplomacy. The other is an unguarded reaction, and unguarded reactions are almost always closer to the truth. Contrast Clark's body language with teammate Aaliyah Boston's response. Boston simply shrugged and offered what amounted to the most obvious statement in basketball. Caitlyn Clark is Caitlyn Clark. She does that. It was warm, genuine, and devoid of drama. It was the reaction of a teammate who appreciates greatness without complication. The gap between that warmth and the ice visible elsewhere in the postgame told its own story. Even the broadcast world had been signaling concern before tip-off. Former NBA champion Michael Thompson said on air before the game that he had never seen any sport misuse a generational talent the way the Fever were misusing Clark. He compared it to telling Serena Williams to stop using her serve, a deliberately absurd analogy meant to illustrate a deliberately absurd coaching approach. When outside voices are using that kind of language before the controversy even begins, you know the frustration has been building for a long time. Fairness matters, so let's give the other side its full hearing. Stephanie White's defenders have a legitimate argument, and it starts with the simplest fact in sports. The Fever won the game. Clark made the shot. The ball went in. Whatever the play was designed to do, the outcome was a victory, and victories are the only currency that matters when the standings are calculated at the end of the season. Beyond that, there is context that softens the outrage if you're willing to consider it. Clark spent much of this game in foul trouble. She picked up 2 fouls in the first quarter and sat for most of the second. The issue of drawing fouls versus committing them was a running theme all night. A coaching staff thinking about how to manufacture free throw attempts late in a tight game isn't inherently crazy. It's a tactical consideration that exists in a specific context, and ignoring that context to fuel outrage isn't honest analysis. White herself addressed the noise afterward with the kind of measured deflection coaches are trained to deliver. She pointed out that this is simply what Caitlyn does. She makes big shots and rises to big moments, and suggested that the noise surrounding this team was never going to quiet down regardless of what happened on the court. It wasn't a ringing endorsement of the play design, but it wasn't an apology either. It was a coach trying to steer the narrative back toward the result and away from the process. And there's one more thing worth acknowledging. Coaches draw up imperfect plays every single night. Hindsight is undefeated, and it's very easy to dissect a decision after you already know the outcome. Maybe Hull's quote came out worse than the actual intent behind the play. Maybe the design had layers that weren't fully communicated in a quick radio hit. Those are real possibilities, and dismissing them entirely would be intellectually dishonest. But here's where the defense crumbles, and it crumbles under the weight of a very simple question. If you have Caitlyn Clark on the floor with 1 second left in the game on the line, and your play is designed so that she is the third option and the primary objective is to draw a foul, what exactly are you telling your franchise player about how you value her? What are you telling the rest of the roster? What are you telling the league? The shot going in does not validate the call, it bails it out. Those are fundamentally different things, and conflating them is how mediocre coaching hides behind great talent. A gambler who bets his mortgage on a long shot and wins didn't make a smart bet. He got lucky, and getting lucky once doesn't mean the underlying decision-making is sound. The Fever sit at 6-5, underperforming expectations with a roster that was supposed to contend. Trade rumors are circulating. A game winner, the kind of moment that typically buys a coach weeks of goodwill and breathing room, somehow generated more questions than answers. That doesn't happen when a team is healthy internally. That happens when the cracks have been visible for so long that even a miracle finish can't plaster over them. One prominent analyst put it bluntly, designing a play to draw a foul instead of getting your best player a shot is indefensible. He refused to believe an assistant coach drew it up independently and laid the decision squarely at the head coach's feet. Whether you agree with that specific accusation or not, the core logic is hard to argue with. You don't script your most important possession of the night around hoping a referee makes a subjective call in your favor. You script it around certainty. And the closest thing to certainty the Indiana Fever have is a 23-year-old from Iowa who can bury a 31-footer with the game on the line. Step all the way back, because the stakes here extend well beyond one game in Washington. Caitlyn Clark is not just the best player on the Indiana Fever. She is arguably the most valuable player in women's basketball, full stop. She is the engine behind record-setting attendance figures, unprecedented television ratings, and a cultural footprint that has expanded the WNBA's audience in ways the league has been chasing for decades. The investment, both financial and emotional, that the league, its broadcast partners, and its fans have placed in Clark's career is enormous. When a buzzer-beating game winner produces trade speculation instead of celebration, it tells you everything about how fragile the relationship between Clark and this coaching staff has become in the public eye. And it raises the most uncomfortable question of all. If this continues, who goes first, the player or the coach? In professional sports, history answers that question with brutal consistency. The player almost always wins. Especially when the player is the reason the arena is full, the ratings are up and the jerseys are selling. Coaches are replaceable. Generational talents are not. Monday night in Washington gave us everything basketball can offer in a single evening: a dramatic collapse, a miraculous comeback, a 31-foot buzzer beater, and a post-game implosion that revealed more about a franchise's internal dysfunction than any loss ever could. Caitlyn Clark made the shot. Sophie Cunningham made the pass. And Lexie Hull, perhaps without fully realizing the consequences, made the confession that turned a win into a crisis. The play was designed to draw a foul. Clark was a decoy. The best deep shooter in the sport was an afterthought in her own team's final possession. And the only reason Indiana walked away with a victory is that two players looked at the game plan, looked at each other, and decided to throw it in the trash. That's not a system working. That's a system being rescued by the very talent it refuses to prioritize. So here's the question, and it's the only one that really matters. 1 second on the clock, down by 1. Caitlyn Clark standing on your sideline, ready to go. Do you draw up a play to get her a shot, or a play to draw a foul? You cannot call both of those smart coaching. You have to choose one. And if you listen carefully, Clark and Cunningham have already made their choice. They made it the moment they ignored the call, won the game anyway, and laughed about it online for the entire world to see. The only question left is whether the Indiana Fever organization is listening, and whether it has the courage to act on what it hears before the most important player it has ever had decides she's done waiting for them to figure it out. The shot went in. The game is over. But the real contest, the one happening inside that locker room, is just getting started. 1 second left, down 1 point. Caitlyn Clark on the floor. Do you draw up a play to get her a shot, or a play to draw a foul? Drop your answer below and tell me. Has Stephanie White lost this locker room, or is this all just noise? Subscribe if you want real breakdowns, not just hot takes.